Hello, this is Ken Jones from ScientiaMobile, and we are going to start our mobile overview report webinar. This is the MOVR report for the third quarter of 2016, July through September. Quick introductions. John Arnn, hopefully you're off mute, and happy election day to everybody. I'm Ken Jones. I head up marketing here at ScientiaMobile, and I have about 15 years of experience in the mobile space, and have been working with device detection for the last 4. And on the phone with me today, or on the webinar, I should say, is John Arnn. You want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, hello. My name is Jon Arne Sæterås, which is a Norwegian name, as you see from the weird characters in my last name there. I've been in the mobile industry too for a very long time, since the last century, previous century actually. So yeah, time flies by. My background is from the telco industry, software companies, where I've originally started out as a full stack developer, as well as a product person. Now I'm leading the innovation efforts and products at ScientiaMobile.
Right, and we have a little snapshot of some of that innovation today that we'll share with you. So quick introduction and agenda will go on, and we'll also go through a quick overview of what device intelligence is and how it's useful to various enterprise customers. Then we'll get into the meat of our MOVR report, and like most of our webinars, we'll spend a fair amount of time with what we call some of our special analytic reports. This report, we dove into the recall issues that Samsung is having with their Galaxy Note 7. We also looked at the iPhone 7 launch and compared it with previous launches. So we'll see how it's going for Apple. We'll take a look at client hints. A bit of explanation will go on there of just what exactly is client hints and what it means for responsive images. And we'll look at the growth trends for that. We'll also look at a new WRFL capability. WRFL is our device detection system, and we have added a new attribute that we can discover very quickly called the MSRP, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And that's very useful for a number of reasons, but probably most importantly to the advertising community. So now you can target your advertisements to people based upon the price that they might have paid for their smartphones. We'll also run through the top smartphone trends and the operating systems, and we'll finish off with a spotlight report on Mexico. So a quick explanation of what we do at ScientiaMobile. We use device intelligence, so the discovery of a device, to solve a number of problems that people encounter in a mobile-first world. In some cases, people might be having a poor user experience on the mobile web. They might have slow loading images, and the owners of these sites might need better measurements of how their mobile sites or their websites are doing on mobile devices. So we provide an API and other tools that will help people target content or advertising specifically for device, just to make sure that the layout is good or the navigation works. We also provide analytical tools that allow you to collect that information and analyze it in your business intelligence tools afterwards. We also provide an image CDN, so we can very quickly resize your image correctly for the type of device that it is, loaded about 60% faster. And for a lot of companies, these problems can cost over $1 million in lost sales in terms of abandonments. So we provide a great way to resolve those problems. The MOVR report, we actually collect over 35 billion hits so far over the last 2 or 3 years, and we segment out the type of analysis that we do based upon the what we call the form factor. In this case, most of our reports focus on smartphones, tablets, and feature phones. We also identify smart TVs, robots, and apps that are on smartphones uh, that might be using the mobile web. But those are the robots and the smart TVs and the desktops are usually excluded unless we say otherwise. And we've shortened this report significantly because we have a lot of online tools. There's the MOVR visualization tool that you can find at our MOVR site, and it allows you to quickly dive into various aspects of top devices, top operating systems. And if you want to do this on your own site, you can quickly do it. Probably the easiest way to integrate this is to use our Wurfel.js and integrate it with Google Analytics. There's a 5-step process that you can go through to very quickly get this sort of analytics into Google Analytics. And probably the best thing about this is that it'll allow you to identify iPhone models. If you have ever labored under the Google Analytics analysis and wondered why they can't do iPhones, well, now it's very easy to integrate and solve that problem. So let's dive into the special reports we've done. The first one we did is on the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Back in August, people started to report that their Note 7 was catching on fire. Very unfortunate set of engineering problems that might have confronted the Note 7. And the U.S. Consumer Safety Commission issued a notice for recall in mid-September. We could actually track this in real time using our MOVR data that we collect. And we could see how much usage was going on across all the mobile universe. And we're able to see the launch go on, but an interesting thing happened is that even with the recall for a long time, several weeks, there was not a decline in the usage of the Note 7. In fact, there was a bit of a increase, and it wasn't until Samsung actually announced a discontinuation and a further recall process in early October that we started to see a decline. At this point, after 5 weeks, we've seen that the level of traffic has dropped down below what it was at the time of the recall notice. But we're still looking at probably a little less than 50% of the usage compared to the peak that happened right before Samsung discontinued it. So they have a long way to go to continue to get that Note 7 out of circulation. The next thing we looked at was the iPhone 7. So the iPhone 7 started its release back in, I want to say September. And what we did is we compared 2 previous launches to that iPhone 7. So the 7 Plus, the 6S, 6S Plus, and the 6 Plus. So 2014, 15, and 16 sequentially. And we looked at the growth rates in terms of actual usage after that. So you can see that the top line was the original 6 and 6 Plus in 2014. It took off very quickly. By 14 days, about 7.5% of all iPhone traffic was coming from those 2 models. Really staggering how quickly it took off. And beyond 14, it's become one of the most successful phones in Apple's history. The 6S and 6S Plus in 2015 was not as successful, and we've seen that the 7 and 7 Plus is even lower. At the 7-day mark, it was at 1.5%, and at the 14-day mark it was 2.4%. So really significantly lower than the 6 and 6 Plus. There are a number of reasons that might explain this. John Arndt, do you want to jump in here and give any of your theories?
Yeah, well, it's like you say, it's only theories from our end, of course. It's clear that the jump from the previous 5S to 6 and 6 Plus, which was a greater leap in terms of screen size and features,
Right.
than from, for instance, 6S just to 7. And of course, you lost the earphone jack, which got a lot of attention in the media.
Right. So it's hard to pinpoint, but we can say that based on our data, it's clearly a much slower takeoff. We'll see if things pick up beyond this. Another thing that we wanted to look at was the use of client hints for responsive images. So John Arndt, let me have you explain a little bit of what is client hints and who is behind it and what is it used for?
Yeah, so client hints is an initiative from spearheaded by Google, which is basically about the browser to send more information than you used to do in older browsers related to images and sizes of images and sizes of the browser window and so on. And this information enables the web server to do what we call content negotiation, or to select content or format content, in this case images, according to the requesting devices or browser's capabilities, basically. So it sends along with the image request, it sends the actual size of the image, and it sends the size of the viewport and the resolution of the screen. With this information, we can tailor the image pretty down to the pixel in terms of accuracy.
Right. So, one way you can do the resizing and send the image back down is using a product like our service, Image Engine. So this is a product that combines three things. It's a mobile device detection, image resizing, and the content delivery network. So Client Hints actually helps us being Image Engine, resize the image more effectively, and we integrate well with Client Hints. Looking at the trends, we've seen that Client Hints was not hugely used, and it still is in its infancy. But the change between April and late September is significant. We've kind of moved from the 2% on Chrome up to about 6% of image requests that we're seeing are including Client Hints. Now, John, already explained to me Opera also supports Client Hints?
Yeah, so this is, like I said, Google initiative. So obviously Chrome supports it, and Chrome use the Blink rendering engine, and Opera quite recently switched from their Presto rendering engine to Blink as well. So Client Hints comes out of the box with newer Opera versions.
Mm-hmm. So do you anticipate that more browsers will start to adopt this outside of the Google family?
Yes, definitely. The specification has not reached sort of official specification status. It's still a so-called recommendation. But all the major browser vendors are sort of following the progress, and I'm pretty sure they will follow along. But still, as long right now, even if Chrome and Opera together makes out quite a huge slice of the pie, we see that these numbers are still quite low. So it's not enough that the browser actually supports Client Hints. The developer or the site owner actually has to do some work to enable Client Hints.
Right, right.
And that's the nice thing about like you mentioned, Image Engine comes with a few plugins, for instance, for WordPress, where you get all of this for free. So you get the nuts and bolts you need to tweak in order to enable client hints, and you also get the image engine in the other end, actually doing the optimization of the images.
Right. It has a significant benefit in terms of page loading and lightening the load of images.
Mm.
Okay. Another thing is that we've started to see a change in the mix of image requests that include client hints. So it used to be that desktop non-mobile weren't necessarily using client hints, but we're seeing that it's almost even. Well, it is even now that both mobile and non-mobile are starting to use client hints to drive this. Uh, use client hints. John, do you want to talk a little bit about what you think is going on here in terms of the growth?
Yeah, it's like you say. It's maybe it's a mobile thing. At least when you look at it from the first time, it's easy to understand that this has a huge value on mobile. And mobile first being a popular strategy these days. Maybe developers try this out on mobile and then move on to the desktop site when they see the great effects of client hints. But also wanted to say that the share of, even if the browser supports client hints, the share of like we see on these charts, share of sites actually enabling client hints is still quite small. So with a service like Image Engine, where we combine client hints and device detection, we're able to serve optimized images for browsers or sites without client hints being enabled too. So there's still a win-win of considering both device detection and client hints.
Right. Okay. And just to kind of reiterate that Image Engine is a resizing service and content delivery network service that we provide, and it combines these three things: the mobile device detection, the automatic image resizing that will work off of the client hints, and a content delivery network. So we have nodes and edge servers all over the world to speed up the delivery of already cached and resized images. It has about a 60% reduction in the payload and load times, and we support WordPress and multiple JavaScript based frameworks like React, AngularJS, and Ember. Moving on to prices, I had mentioned this earlier. We have recently built the manufacturer's suggested retail price into Wordful. So what we did is we went back and looked through the universe of devices that we track, and we recorded the price at the release date. So this is a snapshot of what the suggested price was at the release date. It doesn't necessarily track a secondary market where older phones are resold, but it does give you an idea of the type of price that someone has paid for the phone. And we focus on these reports mostly on Android. On the iOS side, the Apple side, most of their devices are kind of at the $800 level, regardless of the model that it was. That seems to be their entry price whenever they bring a new model on. But what we did is this histogram shows the 2,464 Android models that we have studied, or actually identified out in the wild, and that they range in price from under $100 to over $1,100. Most of those, 2,000 of the 2,400, are under $400. And so the average price for an Android device is actually, $170. But that's a little bit misleading. That's just kind of looking at the averaging the prices. It doesn't take into account the popularity of the device. So if you look at some of the world's most popular phones, the Galaxy Note 4, the S5, and the S7, they are all over 600. I'll put them into what I'll call the premium price. And that premium price actually generates a huge part of the traffic that you see out in the world. So this kind of indicates that, even though there are a lot of low price alternatives, that a well-designed phone with innovative features and a trusted brand, e.g. Samsung, despite the Note 7 issues, a trusted brand standing behind it, they are able to command a premium price over $600. Now, looking at the traffic that these devices, so the blue bars actually show the percent of the traffic that we see divided up across the different price categories. So we noted that if you take all these under $400 smartphones, that accounts for 50% of the traffic. But the premium category, the 600 to 900, actually generates 32% of the traffic on its own. It only is 166 devices. So there's an interesting divide here going on. There's a large part of the market that is going for the under 400, but there's still a significant portion that will pay the premium and use their phones a lot.
It's also worth noticing that the diversity among the cheaper devices below $400 is greater in terms of processing power, screen size, and sensors and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good point. We did a quick compilation of our data and combining it with the World Bank economic data. So you look at the gross national income per capita. That's what GNI means, and we took the natural log of it. But what we see here is that across all nations, the iOS, the Apple phones, as I had mentioned before, they kind of consistently are at that $800 mark. But you can see that there's a direct correlation in terms of the income levels of various countries and their ability to purchase expensive phones. So you can see that the average price in lower income countries is lower, and it trends upwards as you go. Now, looking at pricing strategies of various manufacturers, it's interesting because, for example, a company like Samsung, they actually generate a range of models and tend to focus on selling them and pricing them differently in different countries. So, for example, in the U.S., you'll see that their average price is around $700. So this is typically the Samsung, well, I guess the S7 these days. But when you get into countries like Mexico, India, or Brazil, the average price point is much lower, and they have devices like the Samsung J3 that are more tailored and priced appropriately for those sort of markets. Motorola, they actually have a huge market in Brazil, and that price point is considerably lower than what you'd see in the U.S. But you can see they kind of had this same pricing strategy where different models for different types of markets, and they have priced higher in higher income markets like the U.S. Some other countries like manufacturers like Huawei, they seem to have a different strategy. They are consistently pricing low. One exception being Canada. It seems like Canada is consistently getting higher end phones and more expensive phones. Screen size. We actually kind of compared the screen sizes. So does a larger screen mean a higher price for a smartphone? Well, generally yes. It seems that our data seems to indicate that, especially in terms of usage, when you look at larger phones with larger screen sizes, tend to generate more traffic, especially in the premium price range. So looking over here at the 600 to 1200 range, over 80% of the usage that we see is from phones that have a screen size of 5 inches or larger. It is interesting to note, though, that even across some of these smaller phones, or the less expensive priced phones, there are large screens. Um, so I think that's starting to seep down into uh, larger phones are becoming more common. All right. Uh, the next thing we'll do is we'll run through relatively quickly here some of the what we call our continent comparisons. So we track all this information from different continents. If you want to drill down into it, you feel free to go to the MOVR visualization tool online. Uh, some interesting things about the top smartphone list here. We have the Samsung Galaxy S7 is just now making its arrival on this top list. So the way we get to these lists is we get the top 10 for each individual uh, continent, and then we combine them. So there's a lot of overlap. It's interesting that the Samsung S7 took a long time to get on to this. It's really not taken off the way that, for example, some of the iPhone 6s has, which has already reached 10% in North America. Uh, the Nokia
Well, I think
Loop. Go ahead.
yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. What I always think is fascinating looking at this chart is the others category,
Mm-hmm.
where others is clearly the biggest chunk of the devices. So there are a lot of diversity hidden in the others category too.
Right, right. Yeah, and in Asia, in Europe, that long tail of devices is quite substantial. There's a lot more diversity in those markets. North America, however, 65% of their traffic actually comes from these top 20 devices. So there's much more consolidation, kind of winner-take-all, blockbuster phone adoption going on in North America versus Europe. Some of the trends in terms of growth and reduction, I think we're seeing the iPhone 6 start to drop away, and most of those people seem to be upgrading to the 6S or the 6 Plus or the 7, which hasn't made it onto this list yet, but I anticipate that probably next quarter it will be there. The biggest winner outside of the Apple family is Samsung S7 that has grown um, uh, a fair amount in North America and Europe. In South America, the Moto G3, which is kind of their flagship phone, is still hanging on there and has grown, and we're seeing that people upgrading from their previous Moto Gs. On the OS side, there's not too much to talk about in terms of market share. It's pretty stable, about 60% for the Android family and 37% for the iOS. The Windows Phone still is hanging out there, but we anticipate that's probably going to drop away in the next several months. In the Android family, the release 6.0 is now the largest at the end of the third quarter. Um, the 5 and actually the legacy includes 4.4, which was a very uh, popular release for a long time. But we're starting to see that drop away as the 5 and the 6 releases take over. And a very different picture here is the iOS. Apple has done a great job at pushing releases and getting quick adoption from people. So, most of the quarter we had people on release 9.3, and I would say, let's see, over 65% of people were on 9.3 at the beginning, but the release of 10 meant that by the end, about 45% of the market was on 10 or a variant of it. So Mexico, this time around we decided to highlight Mexico and its differences versus the United States. Not too much in terms of the form factor. The USA has a slightly, or Mexico has a slightly higher use of smartphones and a slightly lower use of tablets. The manufacturer's share is drastically different. So Apple in the U.S. has a large market share, 53%. Only 9% of usage in Mexican smartphone usage is Apple. Samsung is the largest manufacturer in terms of popularity, and as we said, there's a little more diversity in the market. LG, Motorola, ZTE, Alcatel, Huawei. These all have substantial shares, over 5%. Whereas the United States, things drop off very quickly after Apple and Samsung. On the tablet side, it's pretty much the same story. Samsung has a much larger share of the tablet market, not as many iPads in Mexico. Interesting, there is some of the smaller manufacturers. Well, these are actually big companies. I'm not sure smaller, but their market share is small. They actually have a larger market in Mexico versus the United States. So 5% for Lenovo, Acer, and Alcatel all are in that market with some sort of substantial share. And looking at the types of devices or the models of the devices, the smartphones, you can see that that the Apple iPhone is down in Mexico, but the more popular ones are the Samsung Galaxies, and we actually see a couple of smaller manufacturers with smartphone models in here also. On the tablet side, once again, it's primarily Apple and Samsung. There are a couple of non-Samsung Apple ones here. I think the One Touch Pixie and I think the Iconia one is also either Alcatel or Acer. The share between operating systems, the Android is much more popular in Mexico versus the United States. And looking at the release that they're on, 80% of the Android models, or the Android is on release 4.4 in Mexico. The carriers in the U.S. have pushed newer versions to a lot of their phones. So actually, 6 has 49% in the USA. Very few have gone beyond uh, the 4.4 in Mexico. On the iOS side, however, it's almost identical to the US. Anything you want to add, John?
No, not at
No?
this point.
Okay, great. Well, I think that wraps up our webinar for this week. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at ScientiaMobile. I think you can go to our website and click on the contact and send us questions. And we have various blogs that might give you more detail if you want to look at our blogs. And we will be posting this video and the rest of the report immediately after this webinar. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, John Arn, and
Thank you.
we'll talk soon.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.